Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. This is Danny from the PhotoBiz team. Today we're going to be talking about color theory with Anna and Charity from our passionate support team. You guys have probably spoken with them if you've ever called in here, and they're both amazing, awesome girls, great to deal with. So they've got a bunch of great information for you today, and they're going to be going over multiple things about color theory, from the basics and how you can use it to better your business. So in addition to getting the opportunity to learn from Charity and Anna, we're going to be having a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. You can submit your question using the chat tool, and again, we're going to answer this at the end of the session, so please hold your questions till then. Anna and Charity are both going to speak at different times, so if you have questions for either one of them, just label it whoever it's directed to. And if at any point during today's webinar you have any difficulty hearing or seeing the visual, please just type inside the comment box and let me know. With that being said, I'm going to turn things over to Anna and Charity in just a second. I did want to check real quick and make sure everybody can hear me okay, and if you guys can see our screen. And if you want, you can just go right into the chat tool and just leave a quick comment there. Also, if you guys are on Twitter, we do have a hashtag that is always running. It is hashtag PhotoBizLive. So if you have any other questions or you want to talk about what's going on in the webinar, just use that hashtag. All right, so it looks like everybody can see the screen fine and hear me okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Anna. She's going to be opening up the presentation today.
Hi PhotoBiz friends, my name is Anna and I'm here today with Charity. We are going to be going over some great tips and tricks on how to use color with your business. Some basic color theory and some ideas for branding your business and how color can really help you get your business point across. So let's jump right into it. First of all, I just kind of want to go over some of the benefits of this webinar to you and talk to you a little bit about what you'll be learning. Color is a powerful tool. We as human beings really respond to color. It is a great way to convey motion, to get your mood across, to get your point of view across. Before I started working on this webinar, I went over to the American Psychological Association's website and just read a little bit about what color means to human beings on a psychological level. They told us that yellow means cautionary colors, blue is very cool and authoritative, and green is reassuring. So these are some things to keep in mind. Just really think about how color affects you and what you want to say to your clientele and the people visiting your website. Okay, so I do want to go over some of the basics of color with you guys. A lot of you probably already know this, but I do want to go
Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. This is Danny from the PhotoBiz team. Today we're going to be talking about color theory with Anna and Charity from our passionate support team. You guys have probably spoken with them if you've ever called in here, and they're both amazing, awesome girls, great to deal with. So they've got a bunch of great information for you today, and they're going to be going over multiple things about color theory, from the basics and how you can use it to better your business. So in addition to getting the opportunity to learn from Charity and Anna, we're going to be having a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. You can submit your question using the chat tool, and again, we're going to answer this at the end of the session, so please hold your questions till then. Anna and Charity are both going to speak at different times, so if you have questions for either one of them, just label it whoever it's directed to. And if at any point during today's webinar you have any difficulty hearing or seeing the visual, please just type inside the comment box and let me know. With that being said, I'm going to turn things over to Anna and Charity in just a second. I did want to check real quick and make sure everybody can hear me okay, and if you guys can see our screen. And if you want, you can just go right into the chat tool and just leave a quick comment there. Also, if you guys are on Twitter, we do have a hashtag that is always running. It is hashtag PhotoBizLive. So if you have any other questions or you want to talk about what's going on in the webinar, just use that hashtag. All right, so it looks like everybody can see the screen fine and hear me okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Anna. She's going to be opening up the presentation today.
Hi PhotoBiz friends, my name is Anna and I'm here today with Charity. We are going to be going over some great tips and tricks on how to use color with your business, some basic color theory and some ideas for branding your business and how color can really help you get your business point across. So let's jump right into it. First of all, I just kind of want to go over some of the benefits of this webinar to you and talk to you a little bit about what you'll be learning. Color is a powerful tool. We as human beings really respond to color. It is a great way to convey motion, to get your mood across, to get your point of view across. Before I started working on this webinar, I went over to the American Psychological Association's website and just read a little bit about what color means to human beings on a psychological level. They told us that yellow means cautionary colors, blue is very cool and authoritative, and green is reassuring. So these are some things to keep in mind. Just really think about how color affects you and what you want to say to your clientele and the people visiting your website. Okay, so I do want to go over some of the basics of color with you guys. A lot of you probably already know this, but I do want to go through it. One of the most basic color combinations are the primary colors. These are really, really strong colors. These are the three colors that have to exist in nature for all other colors to be present. And those primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. We have a really strong response to these colors because they are such strong colors. They're really great to use in your business along with some of the other color combinations that I'm going to talk about in a second. But you do want to use them sparingly because they're such strong, visual, vibrant colors. To kind of help us balance out these primary colors, we have secondary colors. And these are the colors that you get when you mix the primaries together. When you mix red with yellow, you get orange. When you mix blue with red, you get purple. When you mix yellow with blue, you get green. So these colors are also very strong. We as human beings really respond to these secondary colors, but they help you expand your color palette and give you a little bit more to play with in terms of color and variety. So now that we know the primary colors and the secondary colors, I do want to talk about complementary colors. Now these color sets are really, really strong visual color sets. What these colors are primary colors matched with a secondary color that is not used in their mixing. So in order to get green, you need yellow and blue. Red is not present in that mixing, so when you put red and green together, it's like having all of the primary colors together, but it's a less visually jarring color combination than putting all three together at once. These complementary color pairs are really strong to the eye. You'll see them a lot in logos. They're great to use as pops of color to help you really emphasize things on the page. The other two sets of complementary colors are blue and orange, and a really popular one is yellow and purple. Very bright, very vibrant, sticks out on the page. People really respond to these sets of colors. I do want to give you guys a quick cautionary note. As strong and vibrant and powerful as these color combinations are, they can be a little bit jarring if you overuse them. So these complementary primary and secondary color combinations are really best when you mix them with a neutral color or something more muted, like a lighter shade of blue or a lighter shade of red. Over here I have two screenshots of my demo account. On the left, I have a color combination with just the primaries in their purest form, red, yellow, and blue. It's very aggressive, a little bit abrasive, very bright, Maybe not what you want to say for your business. Over on the right, I have the same color combination. This is red, yellow, and blue, but the colors are a little bit more toned down. The blue is a little bit more neutral. The red is a little bit cooler and not quite as vibrant, and so is the yellow. So just be careful when you're using these color combinations. They can overwhelm your website really quickly. And now I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about how to use these things and what they mean for your business. Now that we kind of understand the basic color combinations and how you can use them on your website, you want to keep in mind that color can be a really powerful way to tell your customers what you're about, who you are, what you're trying to sell. When you're thinking about the colors that you want to do for your website, it's really important to consider who you're selling to and what your market is. If you're a wedding photographer, for example, you're probably not going to want a super vibrant, colorful site. You're probably going to want something very clean, very sophisticated, something very white, something very pure, something that invokes the motions of a wedding. So a lot of times we'll see our wedding photographers with a very clean white site with little pops of color. I think Larry Perez has done a fantastic job of setting up his wedding site. I'd like to take you there and just kind of show you what he's done with color on his site. His site is weddings.larryperez.com. And let me just take us there. Hold on real quick. All right, so this is his website, and I'm going to reload it for us really quickly because I do love what he's done with the loader on this template. See this nice, beautiful, bright pop of blue and the red in the logo, and everything else is very clean, very white, very pure, very sophisticated, very much in tone with what you would expect from a wedding photographer. Now, if you're not a wedding photographer, maybe your personality is a little bit brighter. Maybe you do, bear with me just a moment. Okay, so maybe you're not a wedding photographer, maybe you're a children's photographer, which is a completely different ballgame. You might want something a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more lively, something that you would associate with a children's personality, something just brighter in general. So I would also like to show you another example site. This is BettyLaurentPhotography.com, and I think she just has some beautiful color combinations with her website. It's very bright, very childlike, almost what you would dress a children in if you think about children's clothing. Just reload this. Nice, beautiful, bright purple loader, cool blue background, gorgeous logo with lots of color. It's very lively. It's not overwhelming. It's not gaudy, but it's very colorful. It gives us a lot to look at, and it really speaks about what children are, which is playful, young, vibrant. Great use of color. Okay, so at this point in the webinar, I am going to turn it over to Charity. She has some great tips for you about color. She's going to expand a little bit on what I touched on here, talk to you a little bit about the design of your site, and also bring it back down to the control panel with some tips and tricks on how to really use color within your website. Ms. Charity, here you go.
Thanks, Anna. Hi, everyone. This is Charity. So I will be speaking with you all about color theory as it relates to branding. So I found this really cool quote from the Institute for Color Research. It says, research reveals people make a subconscious judgment about a person, environment, or product within 90 seconds of initial viewing, and that between 62 and 90% of that assessment is based on color alone. So you want to make a great first impression. It's just like if you were going for a job interview. You put on your nice clothes, do your hair, brush your teeth, all of that, just to look really nice and hope that people or your interviewer will take you seriously. So it's the same thing when it comes to your website. And actually this is the moment where your customer is kind of in control, because as soon as they see your website, they're thinking, you know, oh, is this a professional photographer or company, whatever kind of business you have. You just want to make sure you're giving off a great first impression. And sometimes simplicity is key when it comes to colors. You don't want to necessarily have every color in the rainbow, so try and pick one or two colors that pop, and then make everything else like a neutral color. So you'll have your two spotlight colors, for example. On the left, I have like a teal and a burnt orange here, and then I matched it up with a lot of neutrals, a light tan, you know, the darker tan, darker green, stuff like that. And then on the right, you'll have this bright orange, bright blue, but then I matched it up with a pale blue and a darker blue and a pale orange, something like that. So not necessarily using every color in the rainbow, but pick maybe your favorite and kind of match it up with some more neutral colors that way. And once you pick your colors, go ahead and stick to it. Consistency is really important when it comes to your brand, just your logo and your website in general. So for example, let's just take McDonald's. Everyone knows McDonald's, you know, has the golden arches. So, and if they were to ever change it, you know, we'd be pretty confused. Like, why did they do that? I don't really recognize McDonald's that much anymore. So once you pick your colors, make sure you stick to it. And it also helps for people remembering your business, because I'm sure if you hear McDonald's, you already know what it looks like without having to see it. So consistency is key. And let's say you do like variety. Say you want almost every color in the rainbow. Here are some good examples of a few companies that use that and do it well. So Google, they have 4 different companies here, same with eBay. FedEx actually has different entities for their business, so they'll use a different color for each thing that they specialize in. So it's a great way to keep the same brand, same logo, but just switching it up a little bit with color. Okay, and so what about color shifting? When you're using your website in the control panel, there is the option on some templates to do the color shifting. So instead of picking out the brightest color in the photo, pick out some colors that match your brand. So for example here, still going with the orange and blue theme from the previous slides, I picked out like an orange and tan in each one of these photos, and they're not related at all. You know, food, weddings, is completely different, but you can still find a little bit of color to match your brand in each one of these. Same thing with green, so it doesn't necessarily have to be orange. It can be any color that you want. You can find a little bit of everything in just about every photo that you have. And so I'm actually going to take you to my demo account and show you an example of how that works. So for my demo account, still using the same blue-orange color scheme here. You'll notice in this first photo you have bright colors, but then I move on to the next photo and still the same children's photography, brought in a little bit of the orange. Take it on to the next one, brought in some of that blue that was in his collar. And even though these two photos aren't the same, the two cars, they're still related as far as industry. And then the next photo is of some fruit, so brings in the color again. Then the next photo, bananas, bring in the same industry. So you want, when you're thinking about your galleries, kind of match it up based on industry and color. And so here again, you have the yellow bananas matching up with the yellow balloon in the child's photo right here. So think about the way your colors or your photos move from photo to photo, and what colors are in them, because everyone, I mean, you know, lots of you all have different types of photography or different versions of what's going on in your business. So you want to put all of that in your home gallery. This is a great way to express everything that you're doing all in one. So here's an example of color shifting with the children's gallery. So here you have your colors here. I've picked out a little color from each one of these, and you'll see a slight change between each photo. It doesn't matter if it's color, if it's black and white. Just picked out a little subtle color in each photo, but still goes with the blue, orange, tan theme that's going on here. It doesn't matter if it's bright green in the photo, bright red, doesn't matter if it's black or white, still finding a little bit of that same brand color to match up with each one of the photos. And so I'm actually going to start the gallery over a bit. And if you just look up in the header area and not pay attention to the photos themselves, you'll notice that the color shift is really subtle. So nothing too bright, nothing too contrasty. Still, all the colors have about the same shade between them. So think about that too when you're doing color shifting with your galleries. All right. And so a lot of you all have the choice to pick between black and white. So you have to think about which one makes your photo stand out more. So for example, on the left you have the colored photos here. You know, what I think could be different from what you think, but in my opinion, I think the color photo looks better against the white background, but when you change it to black and white, it looks like it pops out more with the black. So think about that too when you're picking your colors based on if you have a color photo or a black and white photo. And a lot of you all have international businesses, so colors mean different things in different countries. For example, here we see red and think of more like either danger or love, but in Asia it's, you know, considered pure or represents life. With green, we think more of like money or nature. You'll see a lot of eco-friendly companies highlighting green, of course, but then in South Pacific countries, it can represent danger. And then the same thing for blue. We think of blue as trustworthy, so you'll see a lot of banks use the color blue, but in the Middle East, people think of it as spirituality. So just do some research and see what country you're in and what country you're focusing on, or your target country, and think about what colors represent by that country. And so I'm sure you're all wondering, well, what color should I use? So think about what you value. What does your business stand for? What do you want your customers to see or think about when they see your logo or website? Think about everything that you stand for and try and use color to bring that out and convey that to your customers. Also, what's the standard color scheme for your industry? If you're a child's photographer or a baby photographer, then most people are probably using pastels. So you might want to stay within that same pastel area, but you can switch it up. So look and see what your competitors are using. If everyone is using baby pink and baby blue, try pastel purple. You know, switch it up a little bit, but don't stray too far. Like if you're a child's photographer, you might not want to do a lot of black, gray, fiery red, stuff like that. So stay within the industry, but you can switch it up a little bit. And speaking of switching up, a lot of you are thinking about rebranding or starting new. So changing your color is a great way to do that. So instead of changing your entire logo, just maybe change the colors in your logo. So there's still something that your customers are familiar with, but you just tweaked it a little bit and freshened it up a little bit. And then there's also the choice between black and brown. Black and brown are really hard to work with together, but they're great if they're apart. Now, some people can mix black and brown together, but it's pretty difficult. So think about if you want to use brown with your color scheme or if you want to use black with your color scheme. For example, the color green. If you're going for a more earthy green, I would pair it up with brown. But if you're going for something more vibrant, such as the PhotoBiz green, then I would pair that up with black. So just think about, you know, if you want to use black or brown. And lastly, remember, color can help or hurt you. So really do some research, sit down, think about how important color is and what you want your customers to think about when they see your logo, your website, all of your galleries, stuff like that. It's really important. It's probably more important than we all realize. And that's about it.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in for our webinar. We are going to do some questions and answers, so if you have any questions for me or Charity, please just let us know. Thanks again.
Thank you, both of you. So as Anna said, we are going to check out the Q&A area and see if we have any questions. And if you have more individual questions about your brand, your logo, your colors, what the best thing you can do with that would just be to email either Anna or Charity, and you can email them directly at annas@photobiz.com and charityc@photobiz.com. So let's see if we have any questions in here. All right, so Stacy wants to know if you can get a copy of the PowerPoint, and yes, we can get you a copy of that. So I'll just take a note, and we'll get that emailed over to you, Stacy. Also, we do have the recordings online after the webinars are over. They are on our YouTube channel, so you can check them out there as well. And I'm going to look through the other questions in here and see if we can get one of the girls to answer them for you. You can read it.
Hi, looks like we got a question from Suzanne. Suzanne wanted to know, when you're using the color shift feature in the control panel, do you let the system pick it for you, or do you choose it individually? You actually do want to choose it individually per photograph. The system won't randomly pick a color for you. It's actually better that way. It gives you more control over what your website looks like and how it's transitioning.
All right, so we have another question from Suzanne. Do you have any special places you go to for helping you choose colors that go together? Yes, actually I really like going to Adobe Cooler, and the website is adobe.cooler.com, I believe, or either cooler.adobe.com, but you can just Google it, and it's Cooler spelled K-U-L-E-R. They have a lot of different color schemes there that are already matched out from other people who are using the system, or you can create your own. They also help you out with picking out analogous colors, complementary colors, monochromatic color schemes. So it's really fun. I love to play with it all the time, and I actually used it when designing my demo account.
And Pauline, we see your question about changing color and how it could be the extreme, and you also asked, so how about switching the colors as to what is dominant? If you want to just message us a little bit more detail about that question, we'll see if we can answer it for you. If you mean on your logo or with color shifting on your website, if you just want to let us know what you're referring to, we'll see if we can come up with an answer for you. All right, well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions here, so I wanted to thank everybody for joining today, and thank you so much for your great questions. And thanks again to Anna and Charity from the Passionate Support Team. They're awesome. So hopefully if you have any other questions, you can just send them over via email to them. We're also going to have the webinar online on our YouTube channel, like I mentioned, and it's just youtube.com youtube.com/PhotoBiz. When you're there, be sure to click on the subscribe button. That'll keep you up to date whenever we upload a new video as well. And the next webinar we're going to have coming up, we've got a couple planned for next weekend. I'm excited about one about Google Analytics with Mike B., one of our team leaders, so definitely tune into that one if you want to learn more about Google Analytics and Webmaster Tools. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and conclude everything and wrap up the webinar. Thank you everybody for joining us and have a great day.